Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a new Dialga card, which is going to be coming out in Sun and Moon 7A, Thunderclap Spark. That's right, that set has really started leaking now. 5 cards in 1 day, well, 2 days really. That, ladies and gentlemen, not ideal, because that's a lot of cards to try and do in one go. But there is a new Dialga out, and actually, going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pretty nice looking card indeed. Now, it is, of course, a metal Pokemon, which means that you can use, at least for a small period of time, Reverse Valley to have a little bit of less damage done to you. It means that you can use Delmise to do a little bit of extra damage, and you can always use stuff like my boy Registeel to try and accelerate a little bit of energy. And you are hitting weakness against stuff like Gardevoir, which isn't great at the moment, but maybe with stuff like Ultra Necrozma getting better, and Rayquaza, you never know. And then, of course, you've still got stuff like Sylveon as well. Whoop. And indeed, whoop. Now, it does have a retreat cost here. That retreat cost is 2. That's not great. And it's got a weakness to fire, which honestly isn't that bad, because like I keep saying, the only really good fire Pokemon at the moment is Ho-Oh. And they're getting a fairly easy one-hit KO on you anyway, which is quite nice. And resistance to Psychic is always good because Garboda's still running around and we've still got people playing Espeon, so having a resistance to those is quite nice. You've also got 130 HP, meaning that Zoroark GX will not be able to ordinarily get a one-hit KO on you. So there's quite a lot to like in the basics here, but as always, it's the attacks we are primarily concerned about. First attack here for a Metal Double Colorless, 60 damage, and you get to devolve the defending Pokemon and put the higher stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. Does that wording sound familiar? It should. I am taking it directly from the Golurk from Dragons Exalted. We've seen this attack before, and it was on Golurk. And it's a decent little attack. Now, 6, and it was actually for the same cost there as well. So we are literally looking like the exact same attack. And it's a good attack. Now, doing 60 for free energy, it is not particularly good. Now, obviously, you could get a KO on something like a Ralts, for instance, or on something like a Zorua. But honestly, it's not terribly exciting. It's way too expensive. Yeah, you can use double colorless energy. And yeah, at least briefly before rotation. No, wait, this is coming out after rotation, so ignore that. All these Thunderclap Spark cards are actually coming out post-rotation. So let's not talk about Max Elixir, because you know what? Max Elixir will have rotated by the time this card comes out. But you've still got stuff like Magnezone, if you so wish, and you've always got stuff like Solgaleo Prism Star, so we can get the energy on there. But just so we're 100% clear, this is way, way too expensive to be taken seriously. So let's not worry about that. But because we've got the secondary effect here, now we're rocking and rolling. Because you get to take the higher stage evolution on your opponent's active Pokemon and put it back into their hand. This is why Golurk saw play, and it did see play in some rogue decks. And this is why I feel fairly confident that this card will also see a little bit of play. Plus, Golurk was a stage 1, whereas this is a basic. I really do think this is a useful attack. Because let's say you're against something like a Gardevoir. With weakness, you're actually hitting for 120, and then the Curlier comes out because the Gardevoir goes back into their hand, and oh no, Curlier's only got 80 HP, it's knocked out. Now, obviously, if you do this against a GX Pokemon, you're only taking 1 prize. You might be hitting the Gardevoir, but then Gardevoir goes back to your opponent's hand, and it's actually Curlier that gets knocked out, so it's only giving up 1 prize here, but you're taking away your opponent's Stage 2 Pokemon. This is incredibly useful, and it gets even better if your opponent uses something like a Rare Candy. Rare Candy, this works beautifully. So say your opponent's got a Metagross out. Metagross has 250 HP and probably evolved from a Rare Candy. So, quite frankly, it is exceptionally difficult to get a one-hit KO on a Metagross. Even something like a Duskmane Necrozma, assuming you're playing a metal deck, can only do it if they use a GX attack or they have a choice band. That ain't easy. Here, you just evolve them down to a Beldum, and then Beldum's only got 60 HP, and you've just done 60 damage, and they get KO'd immediately. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where it comes in. Now, if your opponent knows you're playing Dialga, they're probably going to try and do something like evolve up manually without Rare Candy, which is just another way of saying your opponent is deliberately going to set up at least one turn slower than they would be otherwise, just to try and spite you. Don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that sounds absolutely fine and dandy to me. Now, actually here, I do really like Dalmise. I think Dalmise is a very useful Pokemon in this situation, and the reason is it means you're doing 70 rather than 60. Now, one of the best uses for this ordinarily would be Grubbin. Take that Vikavolt off the field, but the problem is, as much as Grubbin doesn't have a resistance to metal, Vikavolt very much does have a resistance to metal, so even with a Dalmise here, you won't be getting the KO. But imagine something like a Garbodor, we mentioned that earlier. Well, Trubbish has 70 HP. So you are unfortunately going to have to make sure that you go and get yourself a Dalmise, but then you hit Garbodor for 70 damage and the Trubbish goes down straight away. This allows you to KO stuff you wouldn't otherwise be able to hit. And the fact that it's a basic Pokemon and can be very easily teched into a whole bunch of decks, like Magnezone decks, any deck playing Solgaleo, Metagross decks, etc., I expect this attack to see a fair amount of play, because it's so easily teched in. Golett was a stage 1, and that was a problem. This is a basic, and we've got options for accelerating energy onto metal Pokemon, and this will take some really key KOs. Now, the second attack I am much less of a fan of. Metal, double colourless, 130 damage, discard 1 energy attached to this Pokemon. No. I can't get behind this, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, to be completely blunt with you, we've got better options. I mean, it does 130 and discards an energy. Fine, it will get up there with stuff like Volcanion and Registeel. Like we've said, it's more difficult to KO those 130s, but I cannot muster any excitement. We've got the non-GX Duskmane Necrozma that we can use, which I'm quite a fan of. We have got Heatran now as a metal Pokemon, being a fairly decent non-GX attacker. It's the one that came out in Ultra Prism, and it does 130 for free energy, discarding 2. So I suppose it's about on a par with Dialga there. I really like the first attack. I think the first attack has a lot of potential. The second attack, I mean, look, if I'm going to put 4 energy on a metal Pokemon, I'd probably rather put 4 energy on Duskmane Necrozma and just be hitting 220. Now, admittedly, that is a GX, so it's not quite the fairest comparison ever. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm finding it very difficult to get any enthusiasm. But that's all right. The second attack isn't why we're playing Dialga. The first attack is why we're playing Dialga here, and it's really good. And you should expect to see a bunch of play. The fact that it's on a basic Pokemon makes it extremely techable, and the fact of the matter is, this will allow you to get a bunch of KOs on Pokemon you otherwise wouldn't be able to get a KO on. I mean, imagine being able to get a essentially one-hit KO on a Metagross when you're currently sitting there not being able to KO it. That's pretty amazing. I love it. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We do not, of course, give half Wassies because that would be somewhat barbaric. It's not the greatest card ever, and it's not a card around which we are going to be building a deck. What it is a card whereby if you're playing a metal deck, you are going to be very, very strongly considering putting it in your deck. You always need to have it in mind because it's a great little one-card tech that could swing a whole bunch of matchups. So it's something to remember. But I'd like you guys to remember to drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.